Hey guys, I'm not dead, and if you can't tell by my giant background, my shirt, and the Canadian flag behind me, well, happy Canada Day. As of July 1st, it's the day that Canada got its independence. So, this time, for my first video back, I want to play some CSGO, but first I want to go over some questions that people have about Canada, and we'll just get into the video. So let's see what questions you guys have about Canada. Do all Canadian airports start with a Y? No, not every Canadian airport starts with a Y. If you're in a city that's name starts with a Y, then the airport with the name would start with a Y. But if you're in Edmonton, then you would be in the Edmonton International Airport, which would mean that the airport's name starts with an E. Not every Canadian airport starts with a Y. Are all Canadian Tire dog friendly? So, Canadian Tire is just a store in Canada, and yes, all Canadian Tires are dog friendly. You can bring your pet in, and especially if you're blind and it's your service animal, then they have to let them in. And are all Canadian phones unlocked? I can answer that right now. No. I. What? How? So, not all Canadian phones are unlocked if for some reason you thought that. Are all Canadian provinces bilingual? Yes, Canada has two languages. Some even have three. In Alberta, it's French, Cree, and English. And for most of all other provinces in Canada, it has two primary languages, which means that they're all bilingual, English and French. Are all Canadian universities public? No. Universities in Canada have the right to turn you down. But you have to be pretty stupid to get turned down in Canada. We don't like saying no, we're pretty polite. Are all Canadian eggs pasteurized? Honestly, it just depends on where you're getting your eggs from. Are all Canadian. Yes. Well, not pet friendly, but dog friendly. You can't just bring a horse into Canadian Tire. I think that'll make them pretty mad. Yes, all Canadian pennies are made of copper. Are all Canadian prime ministers bilingual? Yes. You need to be bilingual if you want to run for office in Canada. All members of parliament in Canada need to be able to speak the two primary languages. Is all Canada cold? We're not hiding the heat, trust me, we would find it by now. Does all Canada speak French? Yes, all Canada speaks French. Does all Canada snow? That kind of takes me back to the second question, which was, is all Canada cold? We're not hiding the grass. All Canada snow. What are all Canada's provinces? You know what? This is actually going to be a tough one. There's Alberta, British Columbia, Quebec, Manitoba, Newfoundland and Labrador, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, PEI. Did I say Alberta? Because that's the easy one. Well, there are 13. I don't know any more than the ones that I said off the top of my head. I have a map right over there, but I didn't look because that would be cheating. Are all iPhones unlocked Canada? I don't know if it's showing, but not all iPhones are unlocked Canada. Does all of Canada have free healthcare? Yes. Does all of Canada celebrate Victoria Day? All of Canada can celebrate Victoria Day, but most of the time it's just BC that celebrates it. Does all of Canada have bagged milk? Yes, all of Canada has bagged milk. If you go to the store, you can get a bag of milk, which for some reason Americans think is weird, but no. That's just normal for us. Does all of Canada pay carbon tax? All of Canada has a carbon tax, but it has different values. So, because of Alberta, we're an oil province, and that means that we pay a higher carbon tax. All of Canada does have a daylight saving time. All of Canada does get snow. That's what they just said. And does all of Canada support the Raptors? You can? What? That's like saying, does all of America support the Patriots? You can. It's the team. I do. But I'm sure the Raptors have a rival team in Canada which other people probably support. Are Canadians American? You caught me. No. Huh? That really confuses me. I think it's because Canada is called North America, which is not meaning that we're North Americans, but that doesn't mean that we're Americans. Are Canadians British subjects? No, Canada declared its independence in 1971, I want to say, on this day, July 1st. Are all Canadians British? No, all Canadians are Canadian. As of July 1st, 1971, I think. Are Canadians safe in Mexico? About as safe as we are in America. Are Canadians friendly? They can be. They can also be douchebags. But it really depends on the person. Are Canadians afraid of the dark? Yeah? I'm terrified. Why do you think I have a strobe light right here? Well, you can't see it, but there's a strobe light right there. I need to have it for bedtime. Does Canada have nukes? None that I can see. Does Canada have the death penalty? Yeah, we have the death penalty. Does Canada have a constitution? Yes, we do. I forget what it's called, but it's not called a constitution. It's called, we have a Bill of Rights. So, that's just, I don't really want to look at my watch because, I'm doing this right now. Does Canada have an FBI? We have an RCMP, and there is SCI, I think, or CIS. But we do have an agency in here that functions as an FBI, not a literal FBI. Does Canada have nuclear power? Yes. Does Canada have prom? No, we don't. We only have a winter ball and a spring ball. We don't have a prom. Does Canada recognize Taiwan? Yes. Does Canada Revenue Agency send emails? Okay, so the Canadian Revenue Agency is a pretty big scam in Canada. It's just people saying, hey, you didn't pay taxes, so then people get afraid and send money. But yes, it can send emails, but you should call the Canadian Revenue Agency number if you get an email. Does Canada refine oil? Yes, in Alberta we definitely refine oil. It's an oil province. Does Canada Revenue send e transfers? Again, I probably wouldn't do it unless you call them. Does Canada recycle? Yeah. Does America recycle? Who doesn't recycle? Does Canada. Yes, we recognize Kosovo. Does Canada receive foreign aid? If for whatever reason Canada suffers a natural disaster, yes, we would receive foreign aid. And Canada does refine their own oil as is asked for that one. Does Canada really need immigrants? We don't need them, but we'll take them. Canada has an open immigration policy for people in war torn areas, so most people are pissed off by it, so I'm assuming that's what that question is asking. So, Canada doesn't need immigrants, but we'll take them. Does Canada really have free health care? Yes. Canada has free health care. You can break your arm, show up to the hospital, and they won't charge you. The pills, however, cost money. Does Canada really have a rubber duck? Yes, there was a. No, actually. We had a rubber duck, but we sold it. Let me Google it. It's in Toronto. Rubber duck is a series of giant floating sculptures of yellow rubber ducks designed by Dutch artists. So, yep, Canada really does have a floating rubber duck. And trust me, I love it. That costs $1.2 million. And we paid for it, and I just love my country for that reason because it's just fun, man. Yes, Canada really does have moose. On most highways, you'll see a sign with a little stick figure animal with two big horns. That's a moose. And does Canada really have jobs? We aren't just acting like we're employed. Can a Canadian Prime Minister be impeached? I'm probably just gonna add that to my bookmarks for later. But yes, all Canadian prime ministers or any political figure can be impeached, but it all just depends on a wording. So a Canadian prime minister can be impeached, or I don't know what another word for it would be, but if enough people don't like him, which not a lot of people like him, so yeah, that's pretty much the deal. Not a lot of people like the Prime Minister, and that really shows because it's the first most popular asked question on Google. Can a Canadian work in the US? If he has a citizenship or visa that isn't expired, he can work in the US, and the same applies for the second question about the UK and Australia, and he can also buy property in the USA Okay, so if you have a citizenship or a visa that isn't expired, you're pretty much a citizen. So all of these you can do. Can a Canadian join the Marines? A Canadian can join the Canadian Armed Forces, CAF, and he can also transfer to America if Canada has been assisting the Americans in whatever war they're fighting. And can a Canadian be knighted? Yes. In Canada, can prisoners vote? No. Canadian prisoners cannot vote. In Canada, can first cousins marry? I don't. Why would I know that? I hope not. I'm I'm curious now. No European country prohibits marriage. It is also legal throughout Canada and Mexico to marry your cousin. I don't like knowing that. Well, apparently you can marry your first cousin. In Canada, can you sue doctors? Yes, it's your legal right to representation and to take legal action however you see fit. You can lose a lawsuit, but you can sue. In Canada, can you record a conversation? Yes, in Canada, it's legal to record a conversation without permission from both parties. And in Canada, can you carry a knife? In Canada, you can carry a knife as long as it's not spring assisted. And if it is spring assisted, if it was grandfathered into the country, which means a relative, like a grandfather, brought it in before it was illegal, then you can have whichever knife. In Canada, can you shoot an intruder? With a pistol. Wait. No, with a shotgun. Pistols are illegal in Canada, but shotguns are not. Yep, we can have a sawed off shotgun, but we can't use pistols. In Canada, can you turn right on red? If there isn't a sign prohibiting it, you can turn right on red. In Canada, can you film police? Yes, in Canada, you can film a police officer that is interacting with you or interacting with someone else. In Canada, can you text the police? I'm not sure actually. It might have some fancy long number, but even if you type. No, if you just say 911 to your phone, it calls the police. And you can also say. Yeah, you can probably text the police. I don't know. Yeah, I want to see this actually too. Who are not deaf hard. A telephone voice call is still. You cannot text 911. And the last question, where in Canada can you see the northern lights? So, if you don't know what the northern lights are, it's a point in Nunavut, which is the top most north point of Canada. It's also called the Aurora Borealis. So, let me see if I can find it. Oh, it's in the Northwest Territories. I stand corrected. But Northern Lights. So, the Northern Lights are a phenomenon in Canada where you can see that pretty glow in the sky. I like that one. So, in Canada, if you go to the Northern Territories, at, I can't remember, it's in the winter, I know, but it's always the winter in the Northern Territories. You can see that, and I think that is all the questions that are being asked about Canada because it took me a very long time to find it. So follow my Twitter so that I can ask these questions and you guys can respond, and I'm not just using Google. But I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a good Canada Day. So, bye.
Flew up through the clouds at night, was born to fight. Mythical, so mystical.